ship, which can be traced in your history books, called the Amistad, was overtaken by the slaves that were on it, but the African slaves in a court of law were able to prove they were not born slaves. Well, what happened to the rest of the Negroes that was on that ship? Well, we're the descendants. We're the ones who now bear the brunt of this name, black, the lack of identity, and the disconnect from our cultural ancestry. Let me share with you in Isaiah chapter 42 what the scripture says about us as a people and how we will ultimately be brought out of this fiasco that we're in. Verse 1 in chapter 42. Behold my servant in whom I uphold, mine elect in whom my soul delighteth. I have put my spirit upon him. He shall bring forth judgment to the Gentiles. He shall not cry, nor lift up his voice to be heard in the street. A bruised reed shall he not break, and a smoking flax he shall not quench. He shall bring forth judgment unto truth. He shall not fail nor be discouraged till he shall have set judgment in the earth, and the isles shall wait for his law. Thus saith Yah Elohim, he that created the heavens, and that stretcheth them out, and he that spreadeth forth the earth, and that cometh out of, and that which cometh out of it. He that giveth breath to the people upon it, and spirit to them that walk therein. I, Yah, have called you in righteousness, and will hold your hand, and will keep you, and give you for a covenant of the people, for a light of the Gentiles. When you have a light, then that's what you use to show you which direction you need to go, isn't it? Verse 7. To open the blind eyes, to bring out the prisoners from the prison, and them that sit in darkness out of the prison house. I, Yah, that is my name, and my glory will I not give to another, neither my praise to graven images. I'm going to skip down to verse 18. This is Isaiah 42, and I'm at verse 18. Hear you deaf, and look you blind, that you may see. Who is blind but my servant, or deaf as my messenger that I sent? Who is blind as he that is perfect, and blind as Yah's servant? Hello? Seeing many things, but you observeth not. Opening the ears, but he heareth not. Yah is well pleased for his righteousness' sake. He will magnify the law, i.e. sheriff, and make it honorable. But this is a people robbed and spoiled. They are all of them snared in holes. They are hid in prison houses. They are for prey, and none says deliver, for spoil, and none says restore. Who among you will give ear to this? Who will hearken and hear for the time to come? Who gave Jacob for a spoil, and Israel to the robbers? Did not Yah, and no sense you getting into mad with the white man, he against whom you have sinned? For they would not walk in his ways, neither were they obedient unto his law. Therefore he hath poured out upon him the fury of his anger, and the strength of battle. It hath set him on fire round about, yet he knew it not, and it burned him, yet he laid it not to heart. Let's ask the Shad. You know, when I saw this man the first time, and he was embattled after being duly elected, a duly elected official by the people, came into position, and through the rule of law, set about to get his department in order as he saw fit. And I saw the establishment come in, take the CSI team from him, and establish their code through him. I thought he was the one who was representing them. But this man, in my estimation, reminded me of King David. King David was not the tallest. King David was not the strongest. King David was just the one that the Most High chose. And tonight, we have a descendant of King David with us. We've got a panel, but we've got a star, and that star is the shaft. And I guess, you know, in old days, let me say this in brief, when you came to the old western town, the first person you had to meet was the shaft. Well, I guess Hero Israel has finally come to town because the shaft is here. Sheriff Victor Hill. Thank you for being here, sir.
Thank you for having me.
And of course, we also have another soldier, Mark Johnson. And of course, the ever-present Dr. Curtis Thatcher. Yeah, he mad because he moved out of his seat. And of course, the King of Priests, no, a King of Priests, Peace, Prince Zebekiah. How are you doing, beloved? We'll get you. We'll go right now to the sheriff. You know, Sheriff Hill, I have been just emboldened and just given much respect. I don't know any father that would not be proud of his son to be a sheriff. And for you to have come to that position and have our children have your example, I'm just honored. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, I'm originally from Charleston, South Carolina. I'm the product of I'm a single parent home, so I'm very, very, sensitive to that because I was raised by two wonderful black women. My father now is deceased, but we did have a good relationship, even though I wasn't raised by him in the same home. I've been in law enforcement 21 years. Started my law enforcement career in Charleston, South Carolina. Started at the age of 18 as a police cadet. When I did relocate to Atlanta, I joined the Clayton County Police Force. I was there for approximately 14 years. Most of the time I was spent there as a robbery homicide detective. I was a hostage negotiator there. And then eventually I ran for the legislature. So I served a term in the House of Representatives, and that was very educational. And I was privileged to be able to pass 4 bills into law. And from that point, then I ran for the office of sheriff, and was honored that the people of Clayton County chose me to have that position. And it's a position that I'm truly enjoying, and I'm looking forward to making even more changes than we've already made.
You know, I was honored to see you doing your job on a drug bust, and it was right up there off Walker Road at one of those establishments, and the young men were up there. And the thing that struck me, even in the heat of you doing your work, I was jogging with my dogs, and I'm not talking about humans, I'm actually talking about dogs, but you allowed me to approach you and give respect into you, and just that. What is it about you that gives you your personable nature? And obviously you were bright, you were able to come in at 18 and work your way up. So we don't see the discrimination in that area, or did you? How is it that you were able to ascend to your position in these days and times?
Well, I think what's most important for most politicians to remember, there's an old saying that the power is not in the hands of the man or woman that drafts legislation. The power is not in the hands of the man or woman that vetoes legislation. The power belongs to the man or woman who casts a ballot, who decides who's going to draft the legislation, who decides who's going to be the sheriff. So the power is with the people. If you serve the people, if you take care of people, if you're good to people, then they're going to be good to you. Okay. So, if you really want to associate yourself with power, you don't have to rub shoulders with the governor. You don't have to rub shoulders with the senator. You need to rub shoulders with the people, because it's the people who put you there.
You know, we're going to get to our questions because we have questions here to ask you. Sure. And of course, our audience will obviously have questions because police officers are embattled right now. They are some of the cream of the crop of our community. I'm a soldier. I can relate to you being a warrior. And when we talk about what's happening, before we get to what happened in DeKalb and what happened in New York and what's happening all across this country, talk to us a little bit, because you actually indicated that really you didn't experience discrimination coming up through the ranks. But when you got into your position and we saw you embattled, What do you see were the dynamics that helped create that scenario